Hey guys, I'm going to attempt to do kind of a video demonstration on how to work through one of these acid-base problems, okay? I know I kind of spelled it out in your direction form and also posted you guys honestly, a really good YouTube video to how to interpret these. But since I'm not going to be able to be in front of you guys in the classroom, I kind of at least wanted to give you guys a bare bones example, maybe in video form, on how I go about doing these, okay? So we're going to take just this example here that I made really quick, okay? And we're going to work through it together. All right, so here is our value. So we've got a pH of 7.2, we've got a CO2 of 60, and then a bicarb of 40. So first question it's asking is, what condition is the patient experiencing? So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to run our values, and then we're going to put them in our tic-tac-toe board. And if you guys notice, you've got a page of blank tic-tac-toes in one of your uploads there that you can print out on your MyIvy to help you along with these as you're working through them and getting familiar with them, okay? So first things first, let's look at our pH. This is going to determine our acidity value. So is it a alkalosis or is it an acidosis, okay? So our pH of a 7.20 is going to fall in what range here on our pH value scale? So we have a 7.2. So obviously it's going to fall on the acidic side because it's going to be 7.35 or lower. Okay, so we have a lower value. So 7.20. So I'm going to put me an X right here in my acidic tic-tac-toe chart, okay? All right, so moving next, let's go to our CO2, okay? Our CO2 is a 60, so anything greater than 45 in our CO2 is going to be on the acidic side, okay? So let's go ahead and put that. I like to draw arrows too. You don't have to do that. That is entirely up to you, okay? So our PCO2 is going to be an X as well, all right? And then we need to know our bicarb. So our bicarb is a 40. So our 40 is going to be an up, and then that's going to be over into the base category, okay, right here. So I'm going to put me another X right there, all right? So now, first thing you need to ask yourself, is it an alkalosis or is it an acidosis? Okay, we notice from our pH right off the bat, we are in the acid column. So it's an acidosis, guys. Okay, so acidosis. You've got half the problem done right there. Okay, now we need to determine whether it's respiratory in nature or if it's in metabolic in nature. Okay, so the way that you can do this is you need to correlate your pH and your CO2 values. Okay, and if you notice here, notice our respiratories, our pH is an up and our CO2 is a down. Okay, or our pH is a down and our CO2 is an up. So they're opposite. Okay. So these two are opposite. Okay. Now, if we look down here to our metabolic, we have a pH down, we have a base down on our CO2. Over here on alkalosis, we've got our pH up, and then we've got our CO2 up. Okay. So, same. So the reason I like to draw the little arrows for myself is because it kind of puts this into context. Okay, so I've got a pH that's a down, and then I've got a CO2 that's an up. They're opposite. So this is going to be a respiratory condition. So you've got half the equation already done. So you know that it's a respiratory acidosis. Okay. So Next thing, you need to figure out what its compensation mechanism is, or if it's uncompensated. Okay, so if you go down again on your little paper here, interpretation. So an uncompensated value has a pH and one other value that is abnormal. Okay, one other value. Partial compensation, all values are abnormal. Okay, and then fully compensated, pH is normal, both PaCO2 and bicarb are abnormal. So compensated, pH is normal. No, it is not normal. It is not within the normal range here, so it is not fully compensated. Okay, now partial compensation, all values are abnormal. Yeah, I would have to say that's probably a potential choice there. Okay, and then uncompensated, pH and one other value. So that means we have to have either PaCO2 or bicarb as a normal. Now, if we notice our CO2 up here is a 60, and we go back to our chart up here, they're both out of range. So we still have two here that are both out of range because we've got a 40 on our bicarb and a 60 on our CO2. So this is going to tell me that we have a partial compensation. So we can go ahead and write that down. Partially compensated. Now, if you want to check your answers, I would advise you to use this sheet at a last resort, or you can use it to study, but don't cheat off the sheet. You're going to need to know how to do these. Okay, so let's see here if we find this particular correlation on our given chart over here. And if you see, we had one here, and we had one here. Now, if you notice up here, we have one here, pH down, yes. CO2 up, yes. Bicarb up, yes. So it says this one should be a respiratory acidosis with partial compensation, as you can see right here. Okay, respiratory acidosis, partial compensation. Now, what did we choose? Respiratory acidosis, partially compensated. So there you go. It really is as easy as that. Do not make these harder than what they are, okay? And then, of course, your name of your possible cause, and then how does the body's compensate for these conditions, which that is in your study material. So you can reference that as you need to. But that is how you get to whether or not you have a respiratory or a metabolic condition, an acidosis or an alkalosis, and how you can figure out its compensation mechanism, okay? It really is as easy as that. So please, please do not overthink these. A lot of students overthink these and make these more complicated than what they are. Take them one step at a time, okay? Just like we did here in this video, all right? Now, if you got any questions, you guys can know that you can email me anytime, or talk to me in one of the live chats each week, and I'll be glad to work through these with you guys as best we can. We're going to be doing practice of these probably for the next 3 weeks. So just kind of be prepared, because I want everybody as fluent with these as possible. All right. So I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.